All right, on today's episode of Locked On Avalanche, the Avs in Vegas square off for the Avs' second game of the preseason. And the Colorado Avalanche, not a top 10 team in the next 3 years? That's according to ESPN. What? We'll talk about that. New episode, Locked On Avalanche, coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in and making it your first listen of the day. That's always appreciated. Make sure to follow us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, X, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And follow us over on our YouTube channel over on YouTube. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. All right, there's our rundown if you're watching over on YouTube. Yeah, you didn't hear me wrong. According to ESPN, the Avalanche are not a top 10 team over the next 3 years. We will discuss what that whole thing is all about. But because yesterday was our special episode with Gio Collins, we did not get a chance to talk about that preseason game the Avs had with Vegas. So we'll do that now, which they won. So that's cool, I guess. I mean, it is preseason. We don't want to make.
We want the cup. We want the cup.
Well, you were saying Vegas has not won in the preseason yet. So,
yep,
panic button time for them, right?
Move
clearly.
them. Quebec City, here they come.
But overall, I thought this was it's weird because I thought it was a better game than the first Avalanche game. It was a more entertaining game, but there was not like a ton of offense. Where in that first game, didn't the Avs have like 40-something shots on goal?
Yeah.
And in this one, it was maybe a little bit over 20, if I'm not mistaken. But I just thought it was more of a like streamlined game, kind of more played to the Avalanche strengths. And we'll get to kind of individual players because once again, life is going to be tough for Jared Bednar and Chris McFarland and the whole coaching staff to whittle this team down, and those last couple slots can really go to a handful of players right now. Some of these guys are looking pretty good.
Yeah, and it's honestly between the two preseason games. You're kind of watching for the same thing. That first game, you got to see the Ross Colton, Tomas Tatar, Miles Woodline that everybody's been kind of rumbling about. You got to see that in action. Then you get to see this Vegas game, and everybody gets to see Ryan Johansen, Jonathan Druin. What are these guys going to be bringing to the lineup? What's that going to look like? And it was a positive. Seeing Ryjo scoring, that was great. That was awesome. Like that
pretty
quick
goal
little,
too, man.
Yeah, that
Very
wrister just a turnaround, just fire. That's what you want to see. That's great. And you can see Jonathan Druin, like we talked about it, the everydayers know, like in the offseason when he was picked up, there's a high ceiling, but you don't know where he's going to be. And what I saw was very positive. Like you're like, okay, and then I fell into the trap. That we talked about all year. I thought about, what's he going to be like with McKinnon?
It's true because like how he looked in this game, you're like, okay, like you're not with your Batman right now. So and I thought he looked good. I thought he looked comfortable. And maybe some of that is knowing that who you're playing against is not like the level that you're going to get. But fine, like he's not in a position to be like, oh, I'm here, I come, big bad Jonathan Druin. Like, no, like so it seemed like it was, even though it was a preseason game, that's where maybe he can start to build up his confidence a little bit. And he's always been a good passer. I don't think that's the rub on him is not that. It's just the scoring touch seemed to be lacking last year, clearly the past few years. And I think that's what they want him to get back. But if he doesn't right away, it's okay because you're going to have other guys scoring. kind of like how we've said with Nathan McKinnon, like it took him a little while to get the goals going for a while, but he was just an assist machine. You
Yeah.
might see that in Jonathan Druin for a little while. The assists will be there. You just hope at some point the scoring touch comes back too, in terms of goals.
Yeah, and that's how I watched that Vegas game. Was kind of sitting back and you're watching Jonathan Druin build this confidence and this synergy, and just he felt comfortable, and that was a good sign. It didn't feel like we mentioned players like Sam Olitsky like overplaying. Druin, he looked comfortable, and that was what you want to see. And then to watch him build confidence all game long, which was great, and Ryan Johansen to get into game shape and NHL shape, which is another big thing, because he was kind of, he talked about it after the game. Like he didn't know where he would be coming off that injury, rehab wise, and what it would be like hitting the ice again. And like you heard him in the altitude interview, like in the intermission, like he was sucking wind, baby. He was, the hockey is back. So watching him get back to conditioning, that's going to be great. And watching Druin get that confidence, like what you saw out of all the new Avalanche in these first two preseason games, you got to be optimistic.
It's been good. It's true. It's and even some of these young guys. We talked about Riley Tufte the other day. I think a lot of people were also looking at Oskar Olausson and what are we going to get from him? He was, in my opinion, the best player on the ice.
Yeah,
for both teams. He looked good. He's not a physical player. That's been kind of the rub on him. And I don't think he's ever going to be that. But I think if he can just play, if he can fill out a little bit more and just be okay with some physicality, then he'll be kind of more of a complete player. Because right now you have no concern about his offense. It's just his durability, because he is a little bit thin frame-wise. But, man, like – the Avs got those 2 goals. They got that really pretty goal from Johansen on the power play. And then just a couple minutes later, as the period is ending, a fantastic play from that entire line. Logan O'Connor keeps the puck in the zone against the boards, kind of just shovels it up to Ben Myers, who throws almost like a no-look blind pass to Olausson, who, great hands, just kind of shoves it in. And you got a 2-1 lead heading into the intermission. But that, like, he was playing fine before that, but you could see the weight come off his shoulders, and he just played loose. He played loose. He was in the Nathan McKinnon slot on the power play on that left-hand side, and he was firing bullets, man. Wow, does he have a shot? So the scoring touch is going to be there for him. He looked great overall. I have his let me find it real quick. From Natural Stat Trick. I think he was at, let's see, so his Corsi 4 was 30. His Corsi against was 7. So that is an 81% Corsi 4 percentage. So he's facilitating shots when he's on the ice, whether he's taking them or his line mates are. And great game by him.
And seeing the Avalanche, I mean, you're seeing split squads and different combinations. So we say Avalanche with air quotes. Take a full 2-minute power play, holding on to that puck and cycling the puck. And you see all these pieces. It's like getting a puzzle, and you put all the pieces out together. And then you have like these little pieces you put together, and you're starting to form a picture. And off these 2 games, the picture that's coming together, like winning faceoffs, holding the power play, and just what these line combinations could and should be. Again, this is preseason, but I'm just talking like the individual worth of these pieces. This could be a very scary Avalanche team coming up this season.
It could be. And I want to talk about the power play specifically and what they were doing during their few power plays, or 1 for 3 on the power plays, but they all looked good. What they did during those power plays, I really hope they continue into the regular season. We'll talk about that in a second. But first, we want to talk about DoorDash. And I don't know, Kyle, if you know this, but Sunday mornings here at the Maselli household is usually pancake and or waffles, Mickey Mouse waffles, nonetheless, in our household. Because of that, that is a weekly thing. We never run out of pancake syrup. But if you have ran out of syrup, and while the kids are eating their pancakes, you might have run out of coffee creamer. With DoorDash grocery delivery, you can get what you want right when you need it. Now, you use DoorDash all the time. No kidding aside. You lived on DoorDash.
I would not be here right now if it was not for DoorDash.
Are you saying DoorDash saved your life, Kyle?
They saved my life.
You've trusted DoorDash to deliver your restaurant favorites, and now you can get grocery delivery that actually delivers as well. With thousands of grocery stores to choose from, you'll find the best in your neighborhood and boost your local economy. With each and every order, you'll get exactly what you ordered, or we'll make it right. So sit back and enjoy quality groceries just like you picked them yourself. And you want even more value? You can save on all your grocery and restaurant favorites with a $0 delivery fee on all eligible orders with a Dash Pass membership. With easy substitutions right in the app and best-in-class customer support, DoorDash delivers groceries exactly how you want it. So get 50% off your first DoorDash order up to a $20 value when you use the code LOCKED at checkout. That's a limited time offer. Terms apply. Once again, 50% off up to $20. No minimum subtotal, 0 delivery fees on your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter the promo code LOCKED. Don't forget the promo code LOCKED for 50% off your first order with DoorDash. The power play was looking pretty good, if you ask me, sir. And I put this up on Twitter, actually, when it was happening, because what you saw the Avs doing a lot of was that little touch bump pass right to the slot. That's the one that Ryan Johansen scored on. It's just they don't necessarily go to that guy who's immediately going to take a shot. Sometimes it's just a tic-tac pass right back to that guy, but it just gives that defense different looks. And with the Avalanche just do way too much, even though their power play is good, it's predictable in how it's set up and how it's run. It's almost like the Washington Capitals, who just, they're going to Alex Ovechkin and they make no bones about it. And they're not going to try to do anything fun and exciting. Just cycle it and let him rip that slap shot, and we'll take our chances. The Avalanche kind of do something similar. It's very perimeter based, and they just keep going around and around and around until Nathan MacKinnon gets a pass in the right spot with a defender maybe a little bit out of place, and we'll take our shot. But that little touch pass in the middle just gives a different look. And when you have someone there, they did it a few times with Alex Newhook last year and the year before. And now when you have a guy who can kind of produce on that shot, it just gives a whole nother wrinkle. I really hope they're not just doing this because of the players that they have out there right now. And you see this when the normal power play one is there.
It's, I think you bring up kind of a really good point with like Alex Newhook and now how the center core for this Avalanche could and should look. Like, it's a beefier center core. You could easily, the Landeskog office of planting somebody right in front of the goalie. We didn't have that last year. You didn't have that all year last year, where that was missing in the power play, because that's where Landy used to work. He would get in the goalie's way. He would just kind of make things dirty. He would take that little ricochet shot or pass it right back out. But you didn't have that. And Newhook didn't have the size to do it. But now you have that with
Colton. You had Nichushkin, but he, was hurt most of
he was hurt most of the time. And they would kind of, because of his injury problems, would kind of float him out there on that perimeter to pass something open and then rip something in there. You didn't have that option. And also remember last year in preseason, they tried to introduce that 3D power play. That was also something they introduced last year. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is something that can stick, because honestly, the defensive depth they had last year was something that you like to think of what this power play could look like, and they never used it again. You
Yeah.
never saw the 3D power play through the regular season. But this, with Colton and Ryan Johansen, or whoever you throw on that power play one, you have somebody that could take that Landeskog spot and really make that power play like pop.
It just, like I said, it just gets the defenders maybe just a little bit out of position, because if you can make those passes timely and crisp, and even if you just, like I said, just throw it right back out to that guy who passed it to you, and then you can just cycle it around really quickly, it just gets the defender, and that just gives Nathan MacKinnon that little sliver, that foot of the defender being out of position. That's all he needs. Because if you just keep going around and around, like you're not making the defenders work at all.
Yeah.
And it's pretty easy for them. And for you to get a goal by doing that, it's kind of just like maybe a little bit of luck. And there's always luck involved in the game of hockey. I get that. But if you can be kind of like really in command of how the power play is operating, just that little touch pass, just and then the defenders don't know when it's coming. Because right last year they weren't expecting that. It's just like, no, they're going to cycle. Let's just try to get it in place. And sometimes skill wins out. I get that, but I really liked it. I thought all three power plays looked pretty good, especially that second one. So we'll see where it goes from there. You mentioned, setting up in front. People that Landeskog house. Landeskog is where he does his work. We saw it. And we saw it from Curtis McDermid, of all people, who we said it the other day it was being reported that they told him to focus on the forward position over the offseason, because that's where they're going to focus him on. You know what you're going to get from him, but the goal that he had was kind of impressive, man. Like, we have to give him some credit, because he busted his butt to get down there behind the goal. Checked a Vegas player, I don't know who it was, into the boards. McDermid goes down. He pops right back up. Thought the puck was going the other direction. So he starts hightailing it to the other end, but the puck gets like intercepted. So he stops and heads back to the goal, camps right in front, and there is another Vegas guy on him who didn't stand a chance. You're not going to move that guy. And he just shoveled that puck right in there for a pretty nice goal for Curtis McDermid. Give him credit for that one.
I think we talk a lot about Nichushkin and just the rise of his stardom and his production. I think we might be sleeping on Curtis McDermid and what he actually, when he joined the Avalanche, he was kind of a lumbering, bumbling, like you knew what he was out there for. But then he became a pretty okay defensive guy. And now this offseason, they're like, focus on being a forward. And we're like, okay, sure, whatever. And he gets out there and he's actually not that bad.
I think looking at it is like they can get less mistakes out of him as a forward than a defenseman. And his defensive abilities is just to knock the snot out of you. He's not going to, if it's a 2-on-1, you're done. There's going to be a goal scored. Like, he's a defensive liability, even considering his size.
Yeah.
He's a forward liability too. Like, I think that's just the best way to say is like, there's less mistakes that he can make on a forward position because there's two other guys there to hopefully bail him out on anything he does stupidly. Where on the defensive end, if he screws up, you got one guy who it's left up to clean up his dirty or his mess. Having said that, it's interesting, man. Like, this is a preseason game, right? So you want to see guys out there as much as possible, and usually the time on ice is pretty even. And for Curtis McDermid to be moving to a forward position, you would think he'd be out there for a little while. He was out there for 9 minutes, which by far was the least amount.
2 seconds of those 9 minutes were on the power play.
Did he have did he seriously have 2 seconds did I miss that?
Yeah, he had 2 seconds of power play time.
I think he now has a career 2 seconds on the power play.
Yeah.
I cannot believe. Wow. So again, like I think it's the fans seem to have come around on him and kind of enjoy him for what he is. The coaching staff absolutely loves him.
Yeah.
His teammates absolutely love him. That does not translate into he's good for this team. I think I still don't think he's going to be or find a spot on that fourth line to start this season. But he will be a guy where if injuries creep up and you need someone there, I think he's been around this team long enough where Jared Bednar is comfortable to go put him in, and you're only gonna give him 5, 6, 7 minutes a night. And for that, I think they'll be okay with it. That's all you're gonna get out of Curtis McDermott. So when he does stuff like this, you get it. I'm just wearing a smile on my face right now because you don't really see it from him. He's just the one who's supposed to smash your face in. And when he does a pretty impressive, series of events offensively, you give him credit for it. But don't expect this to keep up.
No, and you kind of think that the Avalanche management sees something in him and what he brings to the team, and like we mentioned a lot, the synergy. Like there's something there that they love because they signed him. He's going to be around for a little bit longer. So like
Yeah,
it's
he's only got another year left or something on
yeah,
the contract.
they could have let him go. They could have let him walk. They could have packaged him by now. Like there's something there that they like. And you know what?
I think
I'm warming up to him.
I think that something is just we'll call you when we need you. I think that's what it is. I think and you need that on teams.
Yep.
But it's not that we need you night in and night out on our fourth line. I still am not there with him. So again, we'll see where all this goes. But there's a lot of guys that are playing well right now in the preseason that are trying to make a name for themselves, and that's what you're supposed to do. So
I can't wait for the ESPN E60 on Curtis McDermott.
There's got to be that'd be a fun one. That would be a fun one.
What if I told you?
Yes. What if I told you ESPN came out with kind of a ridiculous top 10 list? Would you even be surprised that I would make a comment like ESPN and ridiculous in the same comment? When it comes to hockey, I think nobody would really bat an eye at that. But they did, and we're going to talk about that next. All right, so welcome back. And yeah, ESPN, this is making the rounds, especially in Avalanche land, because they're not too happy about it. The Nathan Grav is his name. Let me get to his Nathan Grav. It just says Nathan Grav. I'm sorry. I don't really know his full last name. Anyway, he posted, he doesn't work for ESPN. He posted an article that ESPN put up saying the top 10 teams for the next 3 seasons. They actually listed all the teams from 1 to 32. So he put up the top in this article, which you have to pay for, by the way. And I am not going to do when they put up kind of nonsense like this. Why would I want to pay for that? But like early in the early stages of the internets, when people and websites specifically were like trying to make names for themselves, they would just put up like this clickbaity stuff to get you to go in and start an argument about them. And it was like, any you put anything out there, any press is good press. Those days are over, and this is ESPN we're talking about. So for them to put this thing up there is a little bit just like baffling to me, because they did the top 10 NHL teams for the next 3 seasons. Here's your top 10. Number 10, Los Angeles Kings. 9, Columbus Blue Jackets. 8, Vegas Golden Knights. 7, Minnesota Wild. 6, Dallas Stars. 5, Seattle Kraken. 4, Detroit Red Wings. 3, Buffalo Sabres. 2, Carolina Hurricanes. Number 1, the New Jersey Devils. You heard me correctly. They do not have the Colorado Avalanche as a top 10 team in the next 3 years. And briefly, there is a little bit of this article that you can read, and then before it gets to the good stuff, you have to pay for it. They did this. They had a panel of writers, and they rated each team in 4 categories. One is roster, and they said they put an emphasis on players 26 and under, prospects, cap situation and contracts, and front office ownership and coaching. Well, tell me where the Avalanche don't fit in a top 10 when that's your criteria over just the next 3 years, Kyle. This is not like you're saying 10 years in the future. 3 years in the future, you think the Colorado Avalanche are not a top 10 team?
Can you tell me again who number 9 was?
Number 9 was the Columbus Blue Jackets.
I rest my case.
Exactly. That's the one that I look at where I'm like, are you kidding? Columbus is going to be a much better and improved team in the next 3 years, but they are still a team that is figuring it out. And you're telling me Columbus is going to be a better team than the Avalanche? And I just love like the mishmash of this top 10. It's like, hey, we'll throw in teams that are really good right now, and then we'll throw in a zinger like Columbus. Or we'll throw in like Detroit, who I think is going to be a good team in 3 years. But do you think Detroit is number 4 on this list?
And
4.
Not only is Colorado not sitting on this list, who are set up for not just 3, but 5, maybe 7 years with how this system is, they should be in that top 10 for the next 5 to 7 years. But also, who does ESPN, every time the word hockey is mentioned, who do they shove down our throats? Who's that guy that just got drafted in Chicago?
I was going to say, it's either Connor it's one of the Connors.
So where
are they?
Where is the Oilers and where are the Blackhawks on this top 10? Because you love to tell us how awesome they are. Then where are they?
I don't know. Now, people who do have access to this article say that the Avalanche are number 11 on this. So you don't have to go that far down to finally find them. But I just... It's just so confusing sometimes how ESPN does things. And I genuinely feel like they still do things to this day to have clickbait and to have people like, we're talking about this right now. Because, and I'm not saying they deliberately did it to the Avalanche to have Avalanche fit. Like, I think more Edmonton fans maybe might be annoyed about this than Avalanche fans. But maybe they took into account they did take into account like the contracts, and you don't know what those contracts are going to be like on Edmonton. So I get that. But for the Avalanche, you have Cale Makar locked up. You have Nathan McKinnon locked up. You have hopefully Gabe Landeskog locked up for a little bit long. You know what I mean? Mikko Renton, and you're expecting that to get signed, but it isn't. So okay, if you want to put that in there, fine. It's a baffling one to me. It's a baffling one. And they do, Nathan also put the bottom 10 in here, which is also kind of interesting. So at number 23, so this is from 23 to 32, Arizona Coyotes, Boston Bruins, Philadelphia Flyers, St. Louis Blues, Montreal Canadiens, Washington Capitals, San Jose Sharks, New York Islanders, Vancouver Canucks at number 31, and number 32, Kyle, the Calgary Flames. They honestly think the Calgary Flames are going to be the worst team in the league in 3 years. The worst. Who is writing this stuff for ESPN? And this is who we have a contract with for the next few years that we have to hear about this nonsense whenever they're doing broadcast.
Yeah, I think I am as vocal in disagreement with the bottom 10 as I am the top 10.
Yeah, I think Boston is going to be struggling in 3 years, but I think they're going to be one of the bottom dwelling teams in 3 years. No, I don't. And I'm not a Boston fan, but do I think they're going to be down there? Not at all. I don't know, dude.
I think somebody really hates Daryl Suter in that ESPN office, and they're putting them way. I just, with that team, how in the world can they at least be lower than 20?
Who's that?
Calgary.
Oh, Calgary. Yeah. I don't know.
Like
And
this,
how if with the top 10, you're putting Minnesota at number 7. Aren't they still going to be paying those buyouts in 3 years?
who's number
So
3 on that top 10?
Buffalo. I'm
Why?
okay with. I don't think Buffalo's going to be number 3, but I
Yeah,
think Buffalo's going to be.
they're going to be
Buffalo's gonna
good.
they're going to be a
But
player.
number 3.
Yes, Buffalo is going to be a player. Buffalo's probably going to be definitely a top 12 team in the next 3 years, maybe top 10. I think they're going to be that good. But you are propping them way up. Like you're putting too much emphasis on the younger guys. And you even said it in the article. Emphasis on under 26. All right, well, Cale McCarr's only 26 right now. You could
just say Tage Thompson and Owen Power. We get it.
Oh my God. We could have done a half-hour show on that. So fire away in the comment section, please, because I really want to hear what people think about that. It's a little crazy and ridiculous, but away we go with another hockey season on ESPN. All right, that's going to wrap it up for today, everybody. Thank you for tuning in and making this your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. For Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan, I am Chris Maselli, and this is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. Enjoy the day. We'll see you guys tomorrow.